It's Wave, and it's been a long time since you last seen me. I mean, I did post a video for like a Kindle or something, which I had my long hair. So that video was done a couple years ago, but I got busy because I own a business now. So that's why you haven't seen me being active as I used to be. So I was in that season for a time where I just had to get something up, and it was YouTube because I had to finish my book and I had to work on the business because I had no idea what I was doing. So now that I have that more stable, I guess, like I feel more comfortable and I know what I'm doing now, I can actually come back and do YouTube now. But it's not going to be how it was in the past. So right now my plan is just to post at least twice a month just to see how I feel, and if I feel like uploading more, I can upload more. But definitely not gonna burn myself out by trying to post every single week because it's just not feasible anymore. And like I said, since I own a business, I have more responsibilities, so that is more of my top priority than YouTube. I mean, I enjoy YouTube, but you know, some things are just has to be taking up more space than others. So for this video, I'm basically going to be discussing all the challenges I've done since you guys last saw me that I never actually filmed or edited. So here it goes. The 1,000-step challenge. Now I did this back in 2024, I think. And also it was during the holiday season of, what was it? November. Yeah, November. That's when I did the challenge. So it was good that I did that because I got to see how my weight would fluctuate during the holiday season, because I know during the winter season I overeat and I stress out, plus I was dealing with college as well. So that was just like an uproar of things like anything could go wrong will go wrong. So I found out that doing 1,000 steps per day, I lost a pound, but with the holiday season I gained the pound back, but then I went neutral. So I was at the weight of, what was it, 113 or something like that, and then by the end of the challenge I was still 113, because like I said, I lost a pound, but then I gained a pound because of the sugary sweets. So I did try to go back to it again, but I just found that it just wasn't feasible for me where I'm at. But I do like the challenge because, you know, I got to see is like what 1,000 steps could be and all that. And it actually helped me cut down on Supernatural, which I did finish the show. So that's a good, you know, challenge to do if you guys are curious to do on treadmill. If you do it for, what is it? 90 minutes, I think that's like 1,000 steps in total or something like that. I just know that on my treadmill that once it hits the 12th lap, it actually shuts itself off, which was the same amount of steps I needed for the challenge. So it worked out for me. So now let's get into the 75 hard challenge. I tried this sucker 3 times and I failed each time because I found that drinking the recommended water amount was not feasible for me because 1, it was actually making me feel sick, and 2, it constantly made me go to the bathroom because I had to like pee so much, and it actually stopped me from working on my novel, because every time that I had to go to run to the bathroom, it took me out of my focus of the hyper focus I was in. And even working on the business and then even doing some college stuff, it was basically became a nuisance rather than something to help me. So because of that, I tried the soft challenge, which is it's called 75 soft. That I still failed because it was not feasible for me. Because at the time of that season I started the challenge, I was just not in the right mindset. And then also because starting up the business was such a new thing for me, I was trying to figure that out, and it was just so overwhelming that I just couldn't do the challenge itself. What I'm doing now is actually doing the 75 fluent challenge, but I'm doing it my way. So I'm still working on that, but I'm finding that it actually works. I will link down in the description of who started that, because I thought it was just such a brilliant thing. And yeah, so the 75 hard and 75 soft, it's like, it means well, but I just found that for everyday life it just wasn't feasible, even though my schedule was more flexible than most people that do a 9 to 5 job. For me, it was more of a fad, and I found out that it just doesn't work for me, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that I was a failure at it. I just found that the rigidness of it, it just wasn't for me in the season that I was in. The next one is The Artist's Way. Now, I did do everything, I just didn't do record it, obviously, because my schedule was, again, crazy with owning a business. So I will say that for it, it was a good thing I did do it. And when it came to the main thing of doing the write 3 pages a day of journaling, I actually continued doing that for like another 8 months, and then I stopped it. One, because I ran out of notebooks. Two, I just found that it became more of a tedious thing for me and not something I was enjoying anymore. So I got to learn more about myself through journaling that way. And then also I wanted to highlight one of the things in The Artist's Way was to write a letter to yourself, of one as an 8-year-old version of yourself and one as an 80-year-old version 80 or 88-year version of yourself. And that one actually broke me, especially for the 8-year-old, because I could actually hear my 8-year-old asking about a particular thing in my life, and I literally heard, it's like, do things ever change, or do they get better, something like that. And I started crying because I started to be honest with myself and say that no, it does not get better, but however, present me is going to be doing things that you never knew or thought ever do in your life. So it was very therapeutic, because I actually got to hear the inner child, is what they call it. As for the 80-year-old self, it was kind of more of a comical thing, because it felt I was more seasoned, but it was just a far stretched out thing, because I'm not 80 years old. Whereas the 8-year-old, it was more, you know, not rooted, but so close, even though I'm not 8 years old. So basically, having playtime, I discovered the past 3 years that I need playtime, and a lot of it, because that's what actually rejuvenates me and refuels me to be creative. With my business, I focus on digital media, which is film, photography, graphic design, and all that. And I'll link down my website down below if you guys are curious about it. But I need playtime, like I said, just rejuvenate. But also, it made me happy. And when I stopped doing that, and focus on like work, like this whole hustle culture and all that, it left me so depressed and burned out. Like, I wasn't living day to day. I was just following the task of endless tasks that just never seemed to end, and I wasn't enjoying the present moment. And that's something I still struggle with, just focusing on the moment versus fearing the future, or focusing on like what happens if I don't get this amount of clients and all that, how am I keep the business afloat, because a business, it changes the outlook of things. So like I said, more responsibility, but more of consequences, because it's all on you. There's no employer you go by. You are in a way a slave to yourself, but also you have to be accountable that if you're not, everything could just fall through. Annotating books. Now, I did film this one, but I just didn't bother to edit because I filmed it so long ago, like 2 years ago I think, that I just don't remember what my headspace was, and I just kind of evolved from it. So annotating I was never into, because I thought like books are just so precious and all that. But now that I like have a proof copy of my own book, I was annotating like crazy, and I actually like that, because it was actually able to keep me away from the monitor, my computer monitor, and see where was I making like the most silliest mistakes. Like, I had some typos, I was just like, how could I miss this? on the computer, but seeing it physically, I can see it's like, okay, where would this and that. And digitally, I kind of annotate on the Kindle. It's, you know, it's black and white, so I don't have the color, and I can't write on it because it's the, what is it, the 12th or 11th edition or something like that, this body right here. So annotating has been a great thing for as a writer's perspective, because I get to see what worked, what doesn't, what need to change and all that. And like I said, annotating, I thought it was dumb, and now I see how valuable it is now. The 12-week challenge. Now this one I failed because it was just like the 75 hard challenge. It was just too much for me to handle. I didn't realize that what I put on my agenda for the day is way too much for me to handle, because I'm actually pretty slow at things. But because I'm slow at things, it made me more attentive to detail and all that. It made me have less mistakes. But like writing a book, I thought I was like, oh, I can get a chapter done, or no, I can get like 7 chapters done per week because 7 days if I do is work a chapter a day. No, some chapters just needed 2 days to work at, or even 5 days. Like I remember one chapter took me like 2 or 3 weeks because I was just so stuck on it. And then I found out, I was like, oh, I had to go back to a previous chapter, and then it just unclogged everything for me. So in doing YouTube videos, try to film every single day and then record every day, edit, and then post. It was too much, because life happens, and a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes that I was not expecting it. So that was draining emotionally, to where I just couldn't get myself back up and running like I used to. I'm finding that when I do challenges, that these authors or people that create it, they have a different brain than I do, and I found that for me it's just not feasible. But also it's like it's not sustainable is what really it is. Like I can see like some people have good intentions of like doing this and that, of starting the challenge, not wanting to help people as I help them, which I think is a beautiful thing. But it also comes to a point where, can you sustain this in the long run? Can this go on for life? Like for me, intermittent fasting, I've been doing this for 8 years now, and it works for me because my body just likes it. But there have been times where I broke my fasting because, you know, if I'm on a trip or something, or I was on a business trip, you know, and the time zone changed, so that messed up my schedule of how I'm eating. So I was just more flexible, but then when I get back home, I'm back on doing a reset. But like I said, I could sustain this long run, and I can be flexible with it. Whereas challenges like a 12-week challenge, 75 hard, and things like that, it's like, I wonder if the people that create this have like, are still set on keeping it, or have they evolved? And evolving's not a bad thing, it just means you're growing. And if you're not growing, you're not living your best life, because when you grow, you become wiser. But becoming wiser only happens if you're willing to acknowledge what worked and what didn't work, and how you want to proceed in life. How do you want to go about things differently, that it just didn't work in the past, that you want to do better, or acknowledging that some things are just not meant to be and just let it be. My next one is the Marie Kondo challenge. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. But I read the book first, and I just didn't like agree with a lot of things, because I found that it contradicts with how life operates. When you try to set a planned schedule, it never goes the way you want it to. So things are always falling down, collapsing, so you just have to adapt. So with her method, it doesn't work. I did skip doing the clothes, because I did do the Dana Kane White challenge, so I will get into that later. The way that I am with clothing, I'm very, very minimal. Like, I'd rather invest in a couple pieces that will last me a very, very long time in years wise, than keep on buying clothes I'm never gonna wear, take up space. And I like to keep my laundry very minimal. So I try to do her method, and like I said, it just wasn't working because life gets in the way, or I get called into something, or my dog, for instance, will suddenly start puking out of nowhere, and then I drop everything, and then by the time I get back to it, I have so much stuff on the floor, well, actually on the bed, and I just wanted to get rid of it because I had to get work on with clients, so clients would call randomly, so I had to deal with that. So as long as life does what it does, Marie Kondo's method, it just doesn't work for me. And also, I feel like the system that she has, while, like I said, she does have well-meaning for it, it just doesn't work for me. But I do keep the whole categorizing things together, have like, not like-minded groups, have things that are similar, like sticker, paper, washi tape, put that all in a craft section. That way I know that even if I were to misplace it somewhere, it will be in that zone. So that I do keep. But everything else she has, I don't, except the clothing method. I do like the whole folding method, because I like to see my clothes where they're at visually, whereas when I used to stack them on top of each other, it was just a nuisance of fishing out each clothes of just like, you know, trying to scan for it. Whereas her method, if it's folded, you get to see everything lined up and know that it's like what exactly do you have, what you don't have, and easily for me to select which clothing article I want, because I discovered that I'm very, very a visual person. My brain does this thing of, is if it's out of sight, it's literally out of mind, like it doesn't exist. So if I were to have a cover of something, I would not know what it was, unless if I had a see-through curtain, you know. So there's that. My next one that I did, and I did film this one, and I did do some voiceover or something for it, but I just didn't like the video, and I just don't want to edit it because it's just too long. It was the Dana K. White challenge. Now, I discovered her because my library was doing the guest speakers, and she was one of them. So she was talking about decluttering and the speed of life. I think that's her latest book she has. I needed something because all my methods of cleaning just never worked, and decluttering was just always a hassle. So when I saw my library was having her as a guest speaker, I was like, okay, 1 hour, I can do that. Let's see what she has to offer, and it has changed everything for me. So her method is basically the have a trash bag that's to be black, have a donation box, and just basically start going through one section of whatever you want, and just go through, is it trash, throw it in the trash bag. If it's donation, throw in a donation, and then from there you go through each individual item and ask yourself, does this item belong where it needs to be? If not, then put it immediately where it needs to be. And she goes into depth more in her YouTube channel, so I'll link her channel down below as well, so she can explain it better and all that, and just, you know, give what credit's due. But it's definitely changed how I declutter, because I've had times where a client called me, so I had to stop what I was doing, take care of that. But because I basically stopped what I was doing, nothing was on the floor, nothing was scattered about, and then after I was done with my client, I just go back to it of decluttering and, you know, resume, and then just stop if I need to. I would sometimes do a timer for like an hour to see how much I get done, and I found that it actually motivated me to go faster and faster, or even times made me realize that when I finished like a whole dresser, I found that it wasn't even like 5 minutes, it was like 2 or 3 minutes. And then it helped me understand more spatial time, that the time that I thought was to take me longer actually wasn't. It's just basically just getting into the routine of it. And like I said, I could stop as I wanted to, or just work on one section and just call it a day. It wasn't perfect, but like she said, not perfect, but better. And I definitely had pictures of it. And I've been doing this for the past 3 years, and I'm still like decluttering more and more. But because I declutter, I just discovered that I don't have a threshold to hold that many items in my space. I like having less stuff because the less stuff I own, the easier it is for me to find stuff and more visual empty space that I need. Because like I found that my desk, if it's messy, it just overwhelms me. But if I have less stuff on it, and if it's tidy, then I can actually feel like I'm like not a career woman, but one of those boss ladies or whatever the trend is. You know, I just feel like I'm that person that is like, yeah, I have my stuff done, I'm on a roll, and I'm getting things done like a business owner should be. So I've constantly enjoyed her method, and like I said, keep things in containers, and also evaluate that some things that do not fit in a container doesn't mean I have to throw it away as well. It just means I just need a dedicated space for it that I can hold it in one big container. And she does talk about that as well. So yeah, I'm just so glad that she decided to write her books and all that, because she even admitted that she struggled with decluttering so much, whereas her mother knew where her stuff was. It was always a tidy person, and she felt so much frustration that she couldn't be like her mom, who had a lot of things but knew where everything was and kept everything tidy. Whereas for her, she couldn't do that until she recognized that it's like, oh, I have a very limited amount of threshold of clutter I can hold. It was one of my favorite challenges that I'm glad that I got to do, and I still continue to practice it to this day. And that's it. If I have any more videos that I come across in my catalog of files in my computer, I'll definitely do a part 2 if it comes to it. But other than that, those are the ones that I remember that I've done and just never posted online. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.